Welcome to Dance to Heal. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how dance and movement can bring healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that movement was vital to my recovery. I created Dance to Heal Wellness and also authored the best-selling book, Outside in Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new techniques to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now. Derick Johnson is a U.S. Army veteran, and he has received the prestigious Soldier of the Year 3 times. He is also a life coach and trainer that has helped over 500 clients and 50 companies go from just surviving to thriving. So without further ado, I'm so excited to invite Derick, and thank you so much for coming, Derick.
Thank you for having me, Jenny. It's a pleasure being here. I'm excited for today's conversation.
Yes, super excited. So in the bio, it mentions a little bit about what you do. Would you explain to my audience and whoever's lucky enough to log on to today's episode, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Great question. I would tell him to keep his faith strong, number one, keep pushing forward, and listen to the right people. Keep your faith strong, keep pushing forward, and listen to the right people. And what I mean by the last one is sometimes family, friends, coworkers, professors, and teachers, they mean well, but if they have zero experience doing the thing that you're trying to do, then sometimes it's not honestly the best advice, even though they're trying to be nice. But what you're doing, the path that you're on might be the one that's very different than what everyone in the circle or family has done. So they mean well, they just have zero experience in that thing. So they're just a little scared. So usually they're speaking about themselves, not about you. So just be careful with some of the advice. And I'm only saying that because it's a huge pet peeve for me to see people that have wasted potential only because they heard one person say something and they took it and ran with it. And then their goal went from way up here and it slowly got diminished. And next thing you know, they resented the person whose advice they took. So don't want to see that happen to people anymore.
That's a whole nother episode. I want to hear about the advice that you wish you never took, Derick. So here's the thing. How would you suggest people, because even today as we're recording this, and I know when this actual episode launches, right, a lot of people are going to be struggling mentally. There's so much going on. We don't need to bring everyone down. What advice would you give the listeners on what to do when we're struggling mentally? And I say mentally, encapsulating emotions, right? And things that are outside of our actual control.
Yes. Great question. So I would say 3 things. Number 1 is identify your patterns. Identify your patterns. And what I mean by that is write down a list of scenarios that would normally throw you off, get you off of track, or put you in a low state. So for one person, it could be, oh, that family member texted them and they could just feel the energy before they even open up the text. Or at the time period we're recording this, in a few weeks, we'll be going into Thanksgiving. Some people love it. Some people are the opposite. They're like, oh my God, we have to drive 6 hours to see Uncle so-and-so. And they feel that pressure. So all the examples of the scenarios that affect them the most, whether it's emotionally, physically, sometimes even spiritually, and write the scenario. And then to the right, write their normal reaction. What is your normal reaction to said person, said thing, said social media post that you might see, said triggering statement that you might hear, whatever that is? What is the initial response that you give? Because all of us have an auto response. Sometimes it might be good, sometimes it might not be, and we catch ourselves afterwards. So number 1, really take your time to pinpoint what your patterns are. And the pattern is more so, what is your reaction to things that don't really align with what you want. It doesn't always have to be super toxic or negative. It could just be a subtle thing. Like you open up your fridge. What is the pattern? Did you get 5 hours of sleep and you grabbed the water, or did you get 2 hours of sleep and grabbed just the artificial stuff, started ordering Uber Eats all day, and just like one thing could throw us off. So what is your pattern? Number 2 would be to give yourself a 10-minute rule to release. Give yourself a 10-minute rule to release. So if it's work related and you're stressed, maybe that person has to go to the car and just like yell for a minute. Or maybe they just have to release tears. Maybe they're not even sad at all. They're just like, I have so much pent up stuff. I just need to release. So they could yell, they could cry, they could just simply sit calm in nature and use all of their senses to really take in what's around them. What are they looking at? What do they smell? What do they see? What do they hear? But giving themselves a 10-minute window to come back up or come back down, depending on what the emotion or situation was. So I like to think of it as a smooth wave. What can you do within 10 minutes to get you back to that calm and confident smooth wave? You never really feel way too high, never really feel way too low. You're more so controlled. You make the best decisions, but not in an emotional way. So giving yourself that 10-minute window, because sometimes we hold the stuff in, whether it's a work day, and then we have a planned birthday dinner or a date or family movie night, and we're like, I'm about to erupt when I go in there. I don't want to like snap on anyone, and they're going to feel that energy. So what can you do in your car, in the bathroom, outside, wherever, before you walk into that building, the home, the establishment, to reset? So I truly believe the best leaders, they have the best emotional control, that they know what to do to get away from everyone for a couple minutes, come back, and nobody ever knew anything was wrong before we react. Because we've all released one time and we're like, oh, I'm sorry, that was a little mean. I shouldn't have said that. And then we hurt somebody's feelings, whatever can of worms we opened. So 10-minute rule to come back to a neutral standpoint. You might need to build yourself up. You might need to bring yourself down a little bit. So what can you do? And it usually revolves releasing something, energy, yelling, grabbing the steering wheel, yelling a bunch of cuss words, blasting some music, or just the opposite, just sitting really calm, taking a deep breath outside and really taking in nature around you. So that's number 2. The last one, number 3, would definitely be to track what your loop is on your phone. What is your loop? When you're stressed, bored, have anxiety, and don't want to do that thing, what apps do you circle around? Do you grab TikTok, then go to Gmail, then go to Facebook, and you're like, oh shoot, 20 minutes went by. How did I even get here? Next thing you know, 4 items are in your Amazon cart, and you're like, what the heck am I doing? So everybody has their own little pattern that's like our auto response. So figuring out your social pattern is very beneficial as well, because usually we resort to a pattern that might be different when we're in an excited mood or when we're in a low mood. So definitely the 3 things: identify your patterns, your responses to things. 2, give yourself a 10-minute rule to reset. And then 3, what is your social pattern? I don't think that one's discussed enough. We're all obsessed with our devices and we all grab it. We're like just zoned out. Oh, I really want to do this thing. Let me get an endorphin hit. And then we just open up all these apps and with no intent at all. It's just autopilot.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. My additional app is my C-drama. Like all of my Asian drama ones, I flip through a number of shows that I go through, and I call that my brain candy, Derek. I think my brain needs a little bit of a diet. It's like, it's okay to do it, right? If it's a conscious thing, I've booked it in my schedule. I'm going to watch my show for an hour versus when, I'm flipping through my loops and something is upsetting that comes up. And I'll go back to my little shows that I'm watching, just rotate through those. And then 4 hours later, I've done none of my to-do list, including laundry. And I'm like, oh no. And another day has gone by. Will you share with us why you do what you do?
Yeah, for sure. So growing up, my dad is African-American. He's a farm boy. He grew up on a farm, hard work ethic. Joined the military when he was 15 years old. He did 25 plus years in the U.S. Army and just always had that work ethic. And he went through a lot. He was the oldest of multiple kids, and he grew up poor and then became very successful. My mother also grew up poor. My mother's German, so she grew up in the city in Germany. And they met in a discotheque in Deutschland because my dad was stationed in Germany. So like they were both into the dance scene, like actual battle dances. And so you could just imagine like a 6'3" black guy and then like the 5'4" German lady just pop locking and doing all this stuff like the robot. So
So
with all their success, with all their success and their life experiences and traveling to so many countries, they just like went full force with their careers. So my mother was a Montessori kindergarten school teacher for 40 plus years. So the education, discipline, and structure came from both sides of the family. But since they're so focused on success and their career, they never really did their inner work on healing their own traumas. So that would come out at night when it all started when I was 11 years old, that they would drink a lot more, and it would never affect their day, never affected their work or professional relationships. But between the hours of 9 p.m. to 1 a.m., they would release their version, which would be that last bottle, the last guest left. Hey, great to see you. Door shuts. Like literally just would release. And I would notice by the age of 12 that they were looking through me, not at me. As in, I was not the problem. It was whatever deployments my dad went on, war, traumatic things my mom saw in Germany as a child, as a teen, whatever else happened to them. We never really talked about it, but I knew that it was something deeper. So with that being said, I was the skinny kid. I was bullied at home. I was bullied at school. And being mixed, you're light skinned, quote unquote, automatically soft. So I had to prove myself. And so when I turned 12, I got obsessed with training my body and mind because I got tired of being bullied at home, at school, insecure, stuttering issue, scared, fearful, just on edge, didn't really know who I was. Should I act black? Should I act white? Do I talk too white? Like questioning myself because I was the intelligent guy that would still hang out with the ghetto kids and play basketball. So I was like, mine was just all over the place. So my own journey of being able to mold my body and mold my mindset helped me to raise that confidence and be calm. And then from there, I started training my classmates, my teammates, my teachers, my professors. So at the age of 15, I actually got certified as a personal trainer. And then from there, by college, I wanted to help people in a deeper way. So with that experience, I just always fell in love with giving people their power back, because I was able to do it for myself and I wanted to help others in a deeper way than just fitness or athletics. So honestly, healing that inner child to then help others get rid of their old traumas, that whole journey in itself, without going into all the details, all of that inspired me to take this journey, because I do believe that everybody who's gone through trauma, whatever level that extent is, we're given a gift. And I feel like my gift as a kid and a teenager was discernment, being able to read an individual or a room at the energy level and meet them where they're at, non-judgmental, have a conversation with them. They feel comfortable. I feel comfortable. So giving the support and the love that I didn't get at home. So I got the structure, the hard work, suck it up, keep driving on, whatever. Like that works to an extent, but when you don't work on your human side, you're going to carry that into everything. So giving people what I didn't get then definitely inspired me, and just seeing people thriving so they're no longer just surviving, where they're not carrying this thing with them into every relationship, every friendship, and they feel like they can't get to the next level because they're carrying this weight of childhood trauma, divorce, bad relationship with food, whatever the thing is. That's at its core what I love to do the most, help people get rid of that or control it so they can breathe and have their power back. But it all stems from working on myself first, connecting the dots, and then just getting better at it. Because I do believe that the best teachers, or the people that are the best at what they do, they've all been through hell to an extent, like whatever version of it was for them. But definitely being able to heal others, and create a positive ripple effect.
Yes. I really appreciate you sharing kind of a small window into where you came from versus now. Our YouTube viewers get to see that, you're like filled out, big broad shoulders. He's got this nice deep voice. There's absolutely no stutter what to speak of, right? And you're so confident. And I like that you're so open about where you came from versus where you are now. Because a lot of times we're working with people who may be more at the beginning of their journey, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
yeah, because I have clients who say, well, I can't dance. And my answer is always, well, can you walk? Yeah, well, then you can dance. Like,
Oh
we're
yeah,
not talking
exactly.
about, right, professional dancing. We're just asking you to extend the effort that you would for a stranger, most people, that they wouldn't do for themselves. That's what I
Yes,
love, right? Yes,
exactly.
yes. And would you just tell us a little bit about, because, in our pre-recording time, we spoke about your experience when you were in the service yourself, Derick. Because you told me some
Yes.
funny stories. Will you share with the audience your experience going into the military compared to kind of your pre-training at home prior to that?
Oh, yes, for sure. So I'll put it this way. When I went to basic training and I had 7 drill sergeants screaming and yelling in my face, I almost busted out laughing. The
Mm.
reason why, in my head, I was like, my 5'4" German mother would take all of you out. Like, she's way more aggressive and dark than all of you combined. And I was like, I had this 300 nights a year. You guys just aren't allowed to touch me. And she did. And then my dad, 6'3", black male, just powerful, just country boy, different level of strength. So I'm like, I'm getting used to getting thrown against the wall, hair pulled, glass broken, all kind of stuff. And then the next morning, where do you want to go have breakfast at? Because
Wow.
they would just black out and then it would not affect their day at all. So with that, when I was that shy, fearful, insecure kid, I knew when I made the decision to stand up to family, to stand up to the bullies, I knew that I had to also face other fears, which would be fear of heights, public speaking, all these other things. And I was like, you know what? I need to get into the army. I need to face this head on. I'm good in sports. I'm good in martial arts, but I do feel like I'm not going to fully feel confident until I face these other things. And once I got in basic training, I was like, wow, the training portion just for me psychologically was the easy part. It was just like the other things that were harder, like working with different people, getting better at all that. But definitely from the home setting is having a lot of dark nights from the age of 11 to 17. That prepared me for anything that would normally make someone break down in the military, male or female soldiers, where they were just not used to that. Go here, go there, yell. Like all this stuff is going on. They're just like, I don't even know what you want me to do right now. But in that moment, I've thrived in those situations because I was like, oh, this is just like a Tuesday, 9 p.m. at home. Cool. What would you like me to do? And they're like, this guy's calm. Okay. He's going to lead. He's going to lead the platoon because he's not even affected by this. So definitely it was a training ground at home for the military, but also for life in general. So like an example is being in public and noticing that somebody's belligerently drunk in a nice restaurant
Mm-hmm.
or gets on an airplane drunk and you can tell he has been drinking too much in the airport, and everyone in the restaurant or the airplane looks around to see who sees that this person might cause some stuff. And we look around to see who's the calm, confident one. And it has nothing to do with the person's size. So an example, it could be like this super short person up front. It could be this person over here, but we acknowledge each other, give each other that head nod, and we're like, and then after the fact, you could just read that person's energy where you're like, yeah, he or she's been through some stuff. Like they're not scared of this. Like that's what I always loved on a psychological level was everything at home prepping you for any trauma that were to come, but being able to handle it calmly. So definitely parents helped me in that regard for the military. And then also in regards to a work ethic is as a teenager, I got hyperly obsessed with learning comeback stories of successful people, pro athletes, even choreographers, dancers, artists, musicians, business execs. And I loved learning their backstory. And it always made sense why he or she was so good at what they did because I could relate in a way. Or if they went through things 10 times worse. And I was like, I can't even complain. I had both parents. We had multiple rooms to sleep in, always had food. I have zero room to complain. Like, yes, XYZ happened, but this person was in and out of foster care. So flipping the script and just seeing that also inspired me to learn other people's story. So that at home trauma, working on myself, obsessed with comeback stories, knowing that I was going to be part of my own and being able to teach people how to be part of their own comeback story as well. So definitely all those things put together where, going back to what I mentioned earlier of gifts, I feel like another gift that I was given, it correlates to discernment, is perspective hopping. So that also helped me in the military during, like, if you didn't sleep for 5 days and you still got to go to the shooting range and you still got to go to night land navigation, you still got to swim and tread water for X amount of time. And you're like dehydrated, sleep deprived. You had nightmares because your brain's all over the place. Somebody's passing out. You have to almost like mentally become somebody else to continue in those aspects, especially if you're in a very hot climate or in a freezing cold climate. Like, you're shivering and you're still trying to function and do all the stuff. So in those hardcore moments, I was able to, as I did as a child and teen, perspective hop, as in I would think of version 10.0 of myself. Wow. What advice would he give to current self to do in that stressful situation? And then I would look back at my younger self, and younger version was proud of the current one to say, oh, I know you're struggling right now, but we'll get through this. We've gotten through a lot. Like, look at the historical data of this stuff. So definitely the perspective hopping. But again, everything just stems back to the traumas.
Yes, I love that. It's literally a huge twist on the turning pain into a form of fuel, correct? To put yourself through. I mean, seriously, you achieved so much during your work in the military. You know, your accolades kind of go on and on and on. And I think that juxtaposed with your childhood of you having to be the adult from those certain hours of the evening until they kind of came back to themselves definitely strengthened you to a level few people can actually understand, really, truly. I was parentified myself as a little girl, having to kind of take care of my brother. Different from yours. Mine was less, well, I don't know. I don't remember much of it. I think it was just, I was shuttled off to a grandfather that was fairly abusive with my grandmother, and I saw all of that. So okay. I don't have a great overt memory of it. I just know that I was raising my 2-year-old brother at 4. So okay. I understand what you're saying, Derick, regarding that. I think for our audience, because, you know, everyone comes with these behind the scenes stories that oftentimes they're not as willing to look at it yet until they work with you or me, because then we're going to ask them to look at it. It's important. That formulates who they are now. For sure. Right? And so when it comes to friendships and relationships now, if someone were to just sit back at this moment and look at what's surrounding them, what advice would you give them in regards to, you know, looking carefully at the friendships and relationships they have now versus where they might want to go in that direction towards one that is more ideal for them?
Oh, yeah. So I would really assess your circle to see who is pouring into your cup rather than you just having to pour into theirs. Friendships, relationships, they have to be two-sided. It can't be one-sided. So like, she pours into me, I pour into him, vice versa. If they know I need more energy, I know they need more energy. It's a win-win. We support each other. So seeing, are any of my friendships with friends or family one-sided? Do they only contact me when they need something? Mm-hmm. Maybe you know a decision maker and people always contact you. They're like, oh yeah, Jenny knows everybody. Hey, how have you been? And they say it in that tone. You're like, what do you need? Just get to the point. What do you need? Like, let's cut the small talk. We've all had a friend like that. Like they might be nice people, but they don't realize that they think they're slick and we can see what they're doing. So maybe it's something subtle like that. Or what's even worse is the friend that always had a slick side comment. They never really say anything overly disrespectful, but they always will say something on the side. You have great news. You call him or her. Oh my God, I just got that scholarship. Just got the promotion. Hey, I just got an LLC. I'm down 5 pounds. Just had my first date in 3 years. Oh yeah. Well, look at you. We can't all be that lucky. No. The little yap, 2 cents comment, that person as well. Because if you can zoom out, that person has done that for 5, 10 plus years. And we just kind of push it to the side because we're like, oh, well, we've been friends for 15 years, but if we really look at it, it's like, okay, look at the historical data. How many times did they make you smile and laugh and excited about life? Yeah, I don't remember. Not since we were 16 and we're 30 or 40 now. Like, let's look at that. So definitely assessing your circle. But the most important thing about assessing your circle, you're actually being selfish for a moment, which makes you selfless. As in, if you assess your circle and you make the right adjustments, I'm not telling people to cut off everyone, but if you slowly have to fade away or you have to have that uncomfortable conversation with somebody, you're going to feel your power and confidence go up. You're going to feel calmer. You got that thing off your chest and it's out of your mind because you're not like pushing it off to another meetup or another text. And then in that moment, you feel better about yourself. So then anybody else you interact with, they're going to feel that. They're like, wow, you're different. And all you did was face what you needed to face and wanted to face. And then from there, you're selfless because you're not holding this quote unquote baggage and pressure in your chest or that elephant in the room. Holiday season is coming up and we've all been to a family event, or they walk into your home and you're like, the elephant's here. So let me just cut it. We're not going to talk about this topic or that topic. Sound good? Fist pump. All right, let's eat. And everybody's like, what just happened? I'm like, we're going to kill it before we start.
Yeah. Life is too short, isn't it, Derick? Life is just
exactly
too short, especially in light of where we are historically, the global pandemic that we all survived, things happening also. Life is just too short. It's so much energy to avoid the elephant. It's better just to cut the energy already.
Exactly.
We had to have you come back because we're already at the end of the duration of this podcast. My producer will kill me if I go overtime. I could talk to you all day. You're gonna have to come back. Cool?
Yeah, I'm down for any topic. I appreciate it.
In the interim, if you want to work with Derick, who was awarded Soldier of the Year 3 times and has numerous awards and understands what it's like to battle these inner demons versus physical demons versus now, make sure you go to the link below, thefitwithderick.com. Remember, the Derick is only 1 R, yeah? And then, so would you like to just give them one final few words so they can hear your melodic voice one more time, Derick?
Yes, definitely. So I challenge people to see what can you do to become the man or woman that you would be proud of, and how can you give him or her to the world? What can you do to become the man or woman that you would be proud of, and how can you give him or her to the world? Because at the end of the day, I feel like that's why we're all here. You can heal yourself. You can work on yourself. When you're a better version of you, you're a better asset to everybody else. Stranger on the internet, family member, your kids, your dogs, whoever. We can all give back to an extent, even if it's not our career. And I definitely want to repeat that, even if it's not your career, because you've made somebody's day and somebody made your day that you'll probably never see again because of an interaction in person or online, and you can do that for others. So what do you have to do to make yourself proud, and how can you give back to others?
Oh, thank you, Derick. So remember, that link will be in the description below. In addition to that, make sure you access the free class that I have for you at danceandheal.com. Derick, thank you so much. Audience, we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye. Thanks for listening to Dance to Heal with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of recovery through movement and learn more ways that you can move your body. To work with me and continue your journey, visit OutsideInRecovery.com. Are you ready to move?